Hi, I'm Kamna, and you're watching Appian Live Expert Cut, when we bring the experts back into the office to discuss the events they've been to, the trends they're seeing, and everything else executives need to know. Today, I'm here with Fritz Heimberger, Vice President of Appian's Healthcare Provider Division. Hey, Fritz.
Good morning, Kamna. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Excellent, thanks.
We were recently in Chicago for Becker's 4th Annual Health IT and Revenue Cycle Conference. I noticed a lot of trends about IT finally moving beyond the EMR. What other trends did you notice?
What trends didn't we notice there? I think there was actually a lot coming down the pike for 2019. A lot of consumerism. I think, knowing that we have kind of, as Americans, gone through, the industrial age and, made our way through the, different revolutions in society, we have certainly seen a coming of age of an age of consumerism. I would say another one would be fully pulling in all of the different constituents within one's organization to make technology decisions. It has very much been or trying to be a thing of the past where we have only IT making a decision. They're really trying to involve the business, whether that be revenue cycle, whether that be clinicians, whether that be whomever, in those decisions from the inception point. I think that's been a big boon. But that's certainly two of them. We could go on for hours.
Yeah, spot on. So going back to consumerism,
Yes.
This actually came up in your roundtable as well.
It did. It was a hot topic.
About, millennials are demanding so many things
Yeah.
of healthcare organizations, and that's actually driving a lot of the change that they need to implement
Indeed.
in their technology.
Indeed.
But you brought up a really good point that it's not just millennials, right? Like, it's the younger and older generations that want personalized service. So
Absolutely.
how can technology enable that?
I think it's interesting. We do hear a lot of talk about millennials these days and what their wants and needs and how those are affecting our marketplace. I think what's really important is, as you mentioned, getting to that personalized care. You've got 80-year-olds that are just as adept at using an iPad as a lot of 20-year-olds. So technology adoption, I think, is gaining broader acceptance. It's gaining a larger groundswell than we ever would have expected to only be in the 20s or 30-somethings. So with that, I think it is looking at that self-service model. It's looking at what do these folks need and want to live their lives and make their lives easier. Whether it's going to the airport and having a self-service check-in kiosk, translating that over to the hospital, walking into the hospital for your annual mammogram or your annual physical, and being able to either check in online prior to walking in the door or checking in at a kiosk. Any of that kind of self-service, expedite the way we move through life is really what most folks are looking for. Now, granted, perhaps on the more elderly population, they are looking for a bit of human touch, whereas in the millennial generation, it's a completely hands-off, let me do it myself, let me just get it done. I think where the real kicker is being able to realize that you have those different constituents as consumers. Whether they be patients as consumers, whether they be physicians as consumers, nurses as consumers, these are all our customers in this field, and we have to treat them as such. So being able to know what they need and want and serve to that point is really key.
That's great. So to kind of wrap up then, how do you think consumerism is going to continue to drive the changes that we see in healthcare, especially with Google and Amazon and other big tech giants entering the space?
Absolutely. I think it's going to be a long road to hoe, to be honest with you. I think we've got we saw the likes of Microsoft and Google Health make an attempt a few years back. I think those are lessons learned at this point, and there's kind of some retweaking going on within those companies. We're starting to see a lot of those big tech companies create healthcare for their own folks. Apple now has some clinics. Google is talking about doing some clinics. Microsoft doing the same.
Yeah.
And I think as more and more folks go to a self-insured model, a lot of companies, for example, we as a company are self-insured, that putting the onus of healthcare on the employees, on the company, giving incentivizations as such that ring true with these consumers, that's what's really going to make the difference in having that true personalized care. That's going to reduce costs for everybody and improve the delivery of healthcare overall.
That's great. Well, I appreciate you being on today's episode.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
This was Appian Live Expert Cut. Thanks for watching.